Hey, this week we've been focusing on Thanksgiving, the giving of thanks. Actually, we've been doing that for the past couple of weeks, but this week we're focusing on giving thanks itself. Last week we looked at the attitude of thanksgiving and how that is to characterize, really, it is to encapsulate or be the boundary of the Christian experience. It is what we are to live out. All of what we do is to be lived out in this sense of a thankful or a heart of gratitude. This week, however, we've been looking at a difficult passage in the most difficult book to translate in the New Testament, at least it was for me. And that is because the Greek is being used to express Hebrew idioms. And even what we're talking about today, there's so much that has to do with the Hebrew sacrificial system that Jewish Christians would have understood, but we don't. Not being Jewish Christians, we don't understand the sacrificial system of Judea. We're not ancient Jews that have believed that Jesus is the Messiah, and so it's a little difficult. You have to go back. You have to learn Hebrew before you can actually do the Greek, because of the Hebrew idiom that are used there throughout that whole section. So when we come to these two verses today, which I said these are the money verses, this is where we get to where I wanted to get. This is the conclusion of what was started in verse 8. But it actually goes back to verse 10. There's a statement in verse 10 that we'll go back to and pick up so that we can understand what these two verses are talking about and how we live those out in an expression of thanksgiving. Now, am I talking about Thanksgiving Day particularly? No. But I think Thanksgiving Day reminds us that we are to be people with hearts of thankfulness to God. And that will enable us, as we live that out, as we express that, not just on one day, but thankfully we do have that day, but every day should be a Thanksgiving Day for Christians. And by the way, did you know that when we celebrate the Lord's Supper, that in the New Testament that's referred to as the Eucharist, or the Eucharisteo, giving thanks. It is a Thanksgiving meal, by the way, that when we take the Lord's Supper together, that is a Thanksgiving meal. To me, that speaks volumes as to how we should approach the whole idea of the celebration of the birth of Christ, even Advent, which Advent begins with a time of introspection and grief and moves to, because of our sin, and it moves to, from Wednesday on, from the third Sunday on, there is this celebration. It becomes brighter and it becomes more glorious as we participate in that. But you cannot really enter into that. You can't really understand it. You can't really participate in it properly unless you enter into it with thankfulness and praise. And so that's what we're going to be looking at today in these two verses. They're not long verses. They're short. I could make it really long, but I don't want to, because I think the impact of them, just let them rest where they are. Let them fall on your ears and let it rest on your heart, because these are powerful verses and I don't want to mess it up. Okay, so go back to verse 10, and if you go back to verse 10, there's this almost strange saying, we have an altar from which those who serve the tabernacle have no right to eat. We are having an altar. Where's our altar? We talked about that. Where was our sacrifice made? Where's the altar for us? Where is, as I said, where's that sacrificial blood poured out? Well, for us, it's poured out at the cross of Christ on Mount Calvary. And so that is the place of our altar. That is the place of sacrifice for us. That is the place that we are to go out. We are possessing this altar. That possessing of that altar, we don't enter into that altar once a year. We are always in possession of that altar. Nothing will take it away. Nothing can change it, because Christ is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So all of that whole phrase there, because we are possessing an altar, leads to this conclusion in verses 15 and 16. Through him then, what? Because we have this altar of sacrifice, the cross of Christ, where his blood was shed for our sins, where we go out to him and embrace his disgrace, where we go out and we take his life. We have an altar we eat from. We take that life in us, and we have that point of fellowship, of intimacy with God through Jesus Christ. That phrase in verse 15, through him, early Christian documents illustrate or demonstrate that that particular phrase was used to talk about Jesus' high priestly position in his offering his blood for us in the throne room of God, in the real sanctuary where he goes and does that. Because we have this high priest, because we have the altar, because the sacrifice has been made. Interestingly, Jesus is both the high priest and the sacrifice as well. And so he offers his own blood once for all. And so through him, through Jesus Christ, through his position as our high priest, two things are going to result because of this. Because we have the altar, because he's our high priest, because the sacrifice has been made, because we go out to him bearing his reproach, his disgrace, because we embrace all of that, because he gave his life for us to enable us to be sanctified, to be worshipers of him, two things result from that. One, his death on the cross, and then our going out to him. Two things result from that. Let us continually offer up a sacrifice of praise to God. Now, if I were to translate that literally, I would translate it this way. Let us keep on offering up a sacrifice of praise to God. It's not one and done. It's not, we go out to the cross, boom, that's it, we're saved. Glad that's out of the way. Now I can rest safe and secure. And nothing further from the truth. We are, because we are saved, because of this relationship, because of going out to him at our altar, which is the cross of Christ, having his blood shed for us, for our sins, so that we could be made holy, be sanctified, so that we could become worshipers and thoroughly human, authentic human beings who could offer that praise of creation to God. So because we have that, we are to continually, or keep on. It is to be a daily thing to keep on giving praise to God, to keep on offering that praise to him. And now here's the definition of that praise. What is it? That is the fruit of lips that give thanks to his name. So the fruit of lips that give thanks to God through Jesus Christ, the fruit of that, the fruit of thankfulness, the fruit of giving thanks to God through Christ Jesus, and that's the only place that we can give thanks is through Christ Jesus. It has to be through him. As we are found in him, as we go out to him, as we are embraced by him and embrace and bear his shame and disgrace, we have an altar of it which we eat of as we partake of him, and we have that intimacy. We have that, remember we talked about the offering was shared in, and that God is sharing that meal with that family or with those people as they eat of the altar. So we have that intimate relationship through Jesus Christ with the totality of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And because of that, there is a result. The result is that we give thanks to God, and the fruit of that thanksgiving is praise to God, which is actually worship. So what is taking place is that we are fulfilling our vocation as human beings. As we go out to the cross of Jesus Christ, and as we are reborn, as we are made new, and the image of God is restored in us, then we are able to reflect the praise of all creation because of its thanksgiving. We're able to reflect that praise to God. That's one part of, and that praise is the fruit of lips that give thanks to him, that are truly thankful for what? For what he has done ultimately for us in Jesus Christ, but also for creation, for life, for food, for clothing, for all the blessings that God pours out upon us. Do we still live in a sin, corrupt, and fallen world? Obviously we do. I won't mention any things because I'll get fact-checked, but there are things that go on that demonstrate that this is a fallen world. Then God is not in the business of fixing this fallen world. There's going to be a new creation, but he is in the business of rescuing us, not only us, but all of creation. He's going to bring the rest of creation with us in this. You remember what the Apostle Paul said, that all of creation groans awaiting our perfection. It was subject to futility, not for any fault of its own, but because of us, because of what we have done. God is holding creation back until we who are supposed to be praising him and voicing the praise of all creation, reflecting that worship and love back to God, and we are to reflect it into creation. Until we do that, creation cannot be what it was supposed to be. I cannot wait to see what creation is going to be. I cannot wait to see what we as human beings are going to be. I'm so looking forward to that. We're so used to corruption. We're so used to sin. We're so used to degradation. We're so used to all of that. That it'll be like breathing clean air for the first time in our lives, or drinking pure, clean water for the first time in our lives. And I'm so looking forward to that. But that's only one aspect. The second one is this, and I think it leads to this. And let me read you my translation because I like it better. Doing good, or actually literally do-gooding, and doing good and fellowshipping or contributing. That's the way you translate that. Fellowshipping or contributing. I guess you could get sharing from fellowshipping. I'm not really sure. Contributing. He says, don't forget these things. Don't forget these things. For God is pleased with such sacrifices. A couple of things I want to say about that. Number one, if you ever wonder, could God be pleased with me? Now listen, don't be confused. And I thank N.T. Wright for this, Tom Wright, probably one of the greatest living theologians and scholars of New Testament, certainly of Paul. And what a privilege to get to study with him online. And I'm so very thankful for that opportunity. But as N.T. Wright points out, just because we cannot earn the praise of God does not mean, just because we cannot earn the pleasure of God, not the praise, but the pleasure of God, doesn't mean he's not pleased when we, in our faltering and stumbling ways, and small and large ways, we do good and we fellowship, literally share together, fellowship with one another. That's pleasing to God when he sees that. It's pleasing. We please him when we live out what we're supposed to be. Perfectly? No. Stumbling, falteringly, halteringly? Yes. But it doesn't mean that God is not pleased with us. Are you displeased with those of you who have had children, were you displeased at their first fumbling and stumbling steps? No. You were so thrilled and you applauded them. Oh, how marvelous when they first drew a picture and the colors were everywhere. What is that, honey? Well, that's the sun and that's the grass. Oh, yes, I see that. How marvelous and wonderful. And you put it on the refrigerator door. God doesn't expect us to be perfect here. He sees us as what we're going to be like, but he praises, he applauds our stumbling steps and our fumbling steps and trying to be, by the empowerment of the Holy Spirit, live out in a loving way, doing good for others, fellowshipping with others. Now, that's primarily within the church, because I'm convinced you cannot do it in the church. I mean, you cannot do it outside the church if you're not first doing it inside the church. Well, we need to take that love and stuff outside the church. When it's done inside the church, then yes, we can transport it outside the church. I'm not convinced it's done very well within the church yet. And I've been in it for 30-something years. In small ways, yes, it is. In small ways, we do see love and doing good to one another and genuinely fellowshipping with one another, sharing in Christ with one another. But by and large, we don't do a really good job of it within the confines of the community of faith. How can we transport that outside the confines of the community of faith? Now, I get you. There are a few of us that can go on a mission trip and we can transport that. We can transport that truth. And that's why people love going on mission trips to places where they get to do that, because they're not surrounded by the attitude. We have actually people are anxious to hear the good news and anxious and to share that love. It's an easy thing because they're not gospel hardened like so many in the United States are. Well, I've gotten on a rant, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to do that. But my point is, there are two results of our going out to, embracing the disgrace of Christ and going out to our altar, the cross of Christ, where our sacrifice is made. As believers, those who call on the name of the Lord, as believers, when we go out to him, two things result. One, we are going to genuinely praise God, because that praise is a result from and comes from, and the only place it can come from, is a heart of thanksgiving. Otherwise, it's just singing a song. Otherwise, it's just humming a tune. It is when we are truly, genuinely thankful for what God has done for us, supremely in the gift of Jesus Christ and his rescue of us from sin and death, supremely in that. As we give thanks to him, we give praise to him, we worship him, and we are enabled by the power of the Holy Spirit who indwells us and the restored image of God to lift the worship of all creation to God and give him thanks and praise and express that, verbally express that. That's our job, to verbally express praise to God for those things. Whether it is seeing a beautiful sunset, whether it's seeing Niagara Falls, whether it is the love of husband, spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, the magic of all of that, romance, the magic, the miracle of life, or the wondrousness of good food and good fellowship with friends around the table, laughter and wonderful music that lifts us beyond where we are and causes us to give praise to God. All of that, all of those things are an expression of a thankful heart that leads to praise. It is the fruit, it is the expression of lips that give thanks to God. And then the second aspect of that, and it flows rightly from that, is that we cannot truly be thankful and worship God if we're not loving, doing good, and fellowshipping with other believers in the community of faith. And we certainly can't transport that praise and thankfulness and that fellowship and that love and doing good to one another outside of the community of faith if it's not being practiced within the community of faith. But I'm convinced of better things of you. I believe that you are practicing those things, that you are filled with thankfulness as we approach this Thanksgiving season and actually the holiday season after that. Thanksgiving, and then immediately Advent, and then the culmination of that, Christmas, then Epiphany, New Year's, and then Epiphany, and then we get into the drudgery of February. But good news, you have Valentine's Day in February that speaks of the love of God for us, and we get to celebrate that again, and then we move closer to Easter. So, not to put too fine a point on it. Now, having said all that, I pray that you know I love you. I do. I wouldn't do this if I didn't love you. I wouldn't sit in front of a camera, which I hate doing as an introvert, sitting in front of a camera, talking to a camera, hoping you're listening. I wouldn't do that just for me. I would not at all. So I do it because I love you, and I want to communicate God's love to you because God does love you, and he's given his son, Jesus Christ. You might have forgiveness of sin, eternal life, and joy indescribable right here and right now, even with all that's going on in our own nation. I pray that you know that. I pray that you know the God of all comfort, and I pray that you know the God of all peace through faith in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. May his blessings rest upon you. Look forward to seeing you this Sunday. Of course, we'll be at 9:30 as our worship until we get all of our surveys done, and that'll end up this week, as well as our deacon nomination will end this week as well. That would be 3 weeks that you got to do that. We had to close for 2 weeks, but we'll get that in. And so I don't know if we're going to be wearing masks or something. There was something that was said about an order coming down from the county mayor. I'm not sure. I won't know that until I see today's paper. It's supposed to be in that. We'll know more about that. And if we have to wear a mask in church, I won't wear one to preach, to be sure. But if we have to wear those in church, okay, I get that. I understand that. Then we do have masks available. So if you're going to join us, you might want to bring a mask with you. We do have masks available. But if you want to come, that's at 9:30. We have small groups at 10:45. I would love for you to be my guest. Love for you to come, be a part of our worship this Sunday and our fellowship in our small groups following our worship time. But if not, then I will see you Monday as we continue to move towards Advent. And that's where we will start focusing on Advent on Monday as we look at this Advent season's theme is the Christmas gift. Look forward to that. Until then, until I see you Monday or Sunday, I pray that God's blessings rest on you always. God bless you. See you Monday.